Hi everybody, and welcome to my video introducing the C&C MX10 Motomarine 35. This is an underwater viewfinder camera with a built-in light meter, a shutter speed of only 1/100th of a second, a fixed single shutter speed, a built-in 32mm fixed focus lens with the capability to accept accessory lenses, and an X-strobe sync with automatic exposure compensation. And what that allows you to do is use your flash underwater and the flash will take the meter data coming from the camera and adjust the power output accordingly. So this camera's target market is for divers seeking their first dive camera. And it's better than the disposable underwater cameras. It's got a much better range, and it's simple to use, which is a big advantage for people who are not entirely familiar with diving, familiar enough to attempt to take a camera with them. Compared to land cameras, this camera is severely technically limited. However, underwater, you don't necessarily want to have lots and lots of buttons and gadgets to distract you from keeping track of how much air you have. It is suitable for dives less than 50 meters, and it's easy to operate, and the settings won't distract you while you're underwater. So in an underwater setting, it's actually a very good camera choice. It's made by C&C. You know, I could not find out when these went into production and when they went out of production, but I could find out that C&C right now only makes camera housings, so I think it's fairly safe to say that these have been out of production for some amount of time. And they were made in Japan. As far as I can tell, all of them were made in Japan. If this had a predecessor camera, I don't know what it was, I couldn't find that out. It was made concurrently with the MX5 and the Motomarine, and if anything followed this, I also couldn't find out what that was. There was surprisingly little information about C&C cameras online. So let's take a look at the camera and see what the different features are. The top's kind of devoid of features. On the front, we have the shutter lock and unlock. That's unlocked, and that is locked. We have the shutter release button, the lens, the aperture or flash selector, and with the orange, your flash is either f11 or f4.5, but you can use any of the apertures from f4.5 to f22 without the flash. Viewfinder and the on-camera flash. The kit also comes with an off-camera flash. Here on the camera back, what we have are the film advance window right here. So here on the back of the housing, we have windows for the frame counter, the viewfinder, the flash ready light, and the frame advance window. When we open up the inside, we get a couple more things and a slightly better view with the back open. Here we have the film back right here, and the film back release is on this side. Battery chamber. This is wind or rewind. This is your frame count, your viewfinder window, your flash ready indicator, and your frame advance indicator. You can also select between two ISOs, 100 and 400 down here with the selection lever. And those are all the controls you have. Very minimal over what you can do with the camera. And likewise, that's it. This is really where everything happens with this camera. So some notes on this camera. This is the only similar underwater camera capable of swapping lenses underwater. So to put that in comparison, Nikon had a very popular underwater camera series called the Nikonos, and you had to surface to change lenses. This one can accept accessory lenses on the front of it without surfacing, which gives you some pretty good leeway when photographing underwater. This is a fun camera and it's easy to use, so you can just focus on taking your pictures and you don't have to worry about lots of dials and settings. And it is capable of taking very good photos. The lens on it and the meter, especially the meter, is very good. So this has an underwater flash range of 4 feet. And one of the things that's good about that is that it forces you to get up close and personal with what you're taking a picture of. Because if you're, and with the camera having a 32 millimeter lens, if you're within 4 feet, basically you're going to fill the frame with the giant shark that's about to eat you, because that's what happens when you scuba dive, and or the moray eel that's out there to bite your leg, things like that. Or the wonderful, awesome sea turtle that just wants to swim around and have a good time. But when you get to 4 feet away from these things, it's very, the subject fills your frame pretty nicely and the flash will illuminate them well. Underwater, you want to, however, avoid using the on-camera flash. It's a good idea to get the off-camera flash, because the on-camera flash will cause it reflects off the particles in the water. And so what happens is, if you use the on-camera flash, unless you're in very, very, very clear water, like a freshly filtered swimming pool, then the particles in the water are going to look like snow in your image. And so having the camera flash off to the side, way off to the side, way out, I'm showing you with my hand is out of camera range. So if you have the camera flash off to the side, then you can have the light from the particles in the water in front bounce away from the lens instead of back to the lens. You also want to avoid being too close to things like moray eels and sharks and other dangerous sea life with this camera. The flash uses an infrared connection, so there's no cord to lose or any ports on it to break. And here's the little flash infrared port over on the side. And what that means is that you also don't have a cord that you can get tangled in when you're underwater. So it's a phenomenal safety feature. And it is, however, useful to affix your flash to your camera with a short length of fishing line to prevent it from becoming lost. And that way, in the event of an emergency, if you're using something like a 5-pound test line and you have to break it, if it's wrapped around your legs or your arm or something, you have to break it to get out of the water, you can still break it. It's not like a cord or a 20-pound test line, which will be harder to break. At any rate. So this has limited ability to push and pull film because it only has the 2 ISO settings, and it has limited ability to use the film, to use different film types in general. It is waterproof to 45 meters. I've seen it said 45 and 50 meters, but they were, at any rate, at somewhere around that depth, it's just going to implode. Underwater, this is a fixed focus camera, and you need the add-on lenses, which there were multiple ones, for optimal versatility. One thing to bear in mind when photographing underwater is that objects appear to be at different distances and of different sizes. So before you use this camera underwater, you want to familiarize yourself with how to compensate for underwater refraction differences. That's well beyond the scope of this video, and it's a very complex subject of which I am no expert. And one other thing is, if you are new to diving, then you want to dive at least a dozen times before you take a camera, any camera. There are way too many ways to die underwater, and learning to use a camera is just another one to add to the list. You should check out the virtualtraveler.org link for tips on underwater photography, and that's in the description. So a couple of don'ts. Don't touch the shutter. Honestly, if you can reach the shutter, I'd be pretty impressed, because you'd have to take the camera apart. Don't cut or damage the O-rings, and likewise, when you swap the O-rings out for storage versus use O-rings, don't use a sharp object. Don't leave your camera or lenses in your car, because they'll be damaged by the heat. Don't store them in a plastic bag, even though the housing for this I recognize as a gigantic plastic box. You don't want to trap moisture in them. Don't store your camera when it's wet. Leave it open and let it get completely dry before you store it. And just remember that your camera is a precision tool and should be handled with care and respect. And as long as you take care of your camera, it will take care of you. And in the second video, we're going to look at how to do some very in-depth things with this camera. But if this overview was helpful, please give me a thumbs up. That lets me know I'm on the right track. If you have any questions, please leave them below. And if I have the answer, I am more than happy to help you with it. If you'd like to subscribe to find out when I have more videos, please do so. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, I'm more than happy to make those if I have the equipment and technical know-how. And one more thing, thank you guys for watching.